All right, I guess based on your previous comments, or what we're talking about, if you think about America finally facing a serious economic competitor, or the in China and the overall the BRICS nations as they're referred to, but I mean, it's clear from your comments that the era of the unipolar world is over. Like the era that's coming to that's very the writing is on the wall in terms of America as the manager of a global economic system. But then we could get into I want to ask back to a theme in this conversation. What would a rational a rationally run country how would it respond to the economic competition from a nation like China? And then in order to rationally address these concerns of anything that we're talking about here, and the example of France that we just talked about is front of my mind. Is labor struggle the only grounds on which the economic rule of the upper classes can be fought? And isn't all of this necessary to have the kind of society that could rationally deal with what a major economic competitor from economic competition from China will look like in the coming century or so?
Well, while I am very happy that you bring up the whole labor capital struggle, because that's another absent item on the discourse of this country that shouldn't be absent because it's going to play a major role. It already is. I would not want to say that's the only or the most important. I wouldn't say that. There's too many levels here that have to be dealt with. So let me offer a different way to think about how rational an alternative we could construct. I'm going to use American history. The War of Independence, 1776, and all of that, was a war in which the colonial power, Britain, George III, King, is telling Americans what to do, organizing and manipulating the economy, using taxes and so forth, to advantage the British Empire, which is at that point at its height, or nearly so. And the American colonists, mostly British, or British by origin, fight back. And to the surprise of everybody, David beats Goliath. It happens, and it happened then. And we're very proud as a nation that we were able to pull that off. Britain was pissed off. They didn't understand how this could happen either. Wasn't supposed to. A few years later, in 1812, they tried again, and they were the British, and they were beaten again. At that point, they realized, and I hope I'm not being overly generous here, but I think they realized they couldn't do it. They could not, with military force, despite having the greatest navy in the world, despite being a much larger country than the United States, the new country. And despite all that they knew, having been the colonial power, remember, they knew where the harbors were. They know everything. They couldn't do it. And they made a decision, which they worried about. It wasn't like they decided it, then it was done. I'm not suggesting that. But they basically made a decision. We can't beat them. So what we're going to have to do is work something out. It has to allow the British economy to flourish, but it has to allow them also. Otherwise, we're going to be having a war every 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter, and they're getting worse and worse. And they did it. I'm condensing a lot of complicated history, but they did it. And for the next 100 years, the colony changed places with the colonizer. Britain, I'm sure you understand, for the last century, the one ending now, has been our colony. It's role reversal almost to the detail. Not in the imagination. The British are masters at denial. They still think that they matter. It's amazing. But they've been the colony of the United States. They worked it out. Britain went on to be a fairly successful economic entity in the world. It couldn't hold on to its empire. It had to give that up. And the United States not only didn't help them, the United States undercut them and replaced them. But they held on. That's the model. the United States has to understand it's over. And I don't mean to be dramatic. The drama ain't me. The drama is in the situation. I just, because of my particular role in this country at this time, I'm the messenger. You can shoot me, it ain't going to make the message go away.